Hi friends. You got me just in the middle of writing some things down. I was making myself a list. This list is my plan for the day. These are the things that I want to make sure I get done for the day. That's my intention. Do you remember that part of the day at school when we would meet together at our small group tables just before work time, and we called it planning time? That's sort of what I'm doing, although it looks a little bit different. At school, on our schedule, it looked like this. It was planning time. And that was when we thought about where we wanted to go. And, we used to have area cards. We might say we wanted to go to the block area, or maybe would go to the house area. Remember that. And the teachers would ask you who you might want to play with, and maybe what materials you wanted to play with. So Miss Kelly, her list is kind of planning. It's her planning time. I wondered, do you ever make plans now that you're at home? It's not going to look the same because, we don't have a house area and we don't have a block area. But, it's still a good idea. I wondered if, maybe when you wake up and you have your breakfast before you go off to play, now mom and dad or somebody grown up might have some things for you to do, like brushing your teeth and those types of things. But when it is time for you to go to play, can you make a plan? Your plan could be, gosh, I have all those Legos in my bedroom. I think I'm going to go to my bedroom today and I'm going to play with my Legos. And you might think about, well, I might need some little animals to put in with my Legos too. So think about where you want to go and maybe what you want to do. When Miss Kelly has her list, I write it down. Now remember, when we would do our planning, it doesn't have to be something you write down, although you can make pictures. Remember, we would have our journals and then we would go back to them later on and see what we planned. So Miss Kelly might go back to her list. Her first thing on her list is, I'm going to do a Zoom meeting. A Zoom meeting. That's when me and Miss Stephanie get to meet on the computer and we do our little messages. So that is something that Miss Kelly is going to do today. So I'm going to write it on my list, and if I were to make a picture, I might make a picture of a computer. And then you notice this is the kind of computer when we get to meet together and do our big Zoom meeting. So that's happening today. Now another thing that's happening today from Miss Kelly is I want to get my cards. I wrote the word cards because I have a couple friends that have birthdays coming up. So something I need to get done today, my plan is to fill out a couple birthday cards and put the stamp on them and put them in the mailbox so it'll get delivered to them for their birthdays. So that's very important for my day. Now, I like having lists. Lots of times grown-ups make lists to remember what we have to get done for the day. And if you wanted to remember what you planned on doing, you could write it down too. You could make pictures or put it on a sticky note maybe, or something like that. And it's always fun for me because at the end of the day, do you remember when we would come back to the table after we would do work time and we called it recall time? And a picture looked like this a little bit, didn't it? We called that recall. And that's when we would come back to our small group table, and we did it all different kinds of ways. Sometimes we did pretend telephones, and we would ask each other what we did during work time. And we would say where we went, and maybe we would say, gosh, I was making a ramp with the cars in the block area, and then I changed my plan and I decided to go use some toys in the toy area. So even though I'm not in school, I kind of have a recall. At the end of the day, sometimes it's maybe dinner time and I'm sitting maybe at the dinner table with my husband. I might go back to my list and I'll say, gosh, I got a lot done today. I had a Zoom meeting, and I can maybe put a little check mark there, say, I got my Zoom meeting done. And then I could say, yeah, and I had a couple cards I had to get out, so I wrote some birthday cards and I put a stamp on them and I mailed them. So those are two things that I did. So it's not the same kind of recall that we do at school, but it's still something that I'm remembering that I did. Now, tomorrow morning when I wake up, I might make another list. And I might have to go back to something that I didn't finish on this day. I almost put this other list, or this other item on. I was going to plant some seeds. It's a little cold today, but I was thinking I'm going to go in the garage and get some materials and plant some seeds. Even though we can't get them in the ground yet, I could get them started. But I might save this for tomorrow's plan because I have to think about what I might need for it. I might need some soil and I might need some tools. I have to find my seeds. I do have some seeds somewhere. But sometimes when we think of a plan, sometimes we go back and we might do something that we were going to do the day before. For instance, today if you decided to make a fort, maybe you wanted to make a fort, you'd have to check with your mom and see if you could maybe use the cushions from the couch or maybe some pillows from your bed and maybe drape some blankets over your pillows. And if you ran out of time or something, then you could maybe do that plan tomorrow. Sometimes we do the same plan more than one day. Or maybe you couldn't keep the pillows all up straight, so you might have to rethink how you're going to do that. Maybe you're going to have to do it differently the next day. Maybe you need to prop them up on a chair or something so they don't tip over. Remember how good you all were coming up with some good ideas. Even though you might come up with a problem, we can always think of another way to make it work the next time. So that's all. I'm going to finish up my list, and I just want to see if maybe you want to do your own kind of planning. And if you do, let me know. I'd love to hear which way you decided to plan. And then maybe at the end of the day, or maybe even after you play, maybe lunchtime, you can kind of go back to your picture or anything that you might have done and say, yep, look, Mom, I decided to go make a fort, and this is what I did. And she might ask you questions about it. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you later.